What is up, everybody? What is up? Welcome to episode number 69, nice, of the Super Grapple Bros podcast about two brothers who are former WWE employees that enjoy both the wrestling and the video games. Wrestling and video games, that's what the show is about. I am one of your hosts, El Murpho, the only host once again this week, going solo one more time. I wanted to try and get D-Murph on this week, but we got hit with a bad snowstorm last night into this morning. D-Murph ended up having to spend the night at his job last night. He's home now, I believe, but I didn't want. I was sure he was exhausted, so I didn't even bother to ask him if he wanted to make his return tonight. What with having to do the War Games and the Survivor Series predictions before the shows start. Hopefully he will be back next episode. I will be seeing him on Sunday. We'll figure out if we're going to do an episode next week, given that it's Thanksgiving week with Black Friday and everything, and if he'll have time. So stick tuned to the Discord server, which you can find in the video description, the show notes, or the Twitch channel page. Join that. Find out there. We will likely also keep you guys updated via Twitter. I'm at L_Murpho. DMurph is at DMurph_42. With that out of the way, this is the NXT TakeOver WarGames and Survivor Series prediction show. And holy hell, everything freaking happened in both the wrestling and the video game world. There is so much stuff to cover. Oh, we've got the Becky Lynch situation, the Daniel Bryan heel turn, the predictions of both shows to go on, information about Starrcade, Cody Rhodes' last ROH match got announced this week, and then in video games, even more crazy stuff happened. Sony will not be at E3. The Game Awards nominees got introduced. There's rumors of a discless console for Xbox. I actually don't know if I have that up here anymore, but at least I put it out here in the beginning. Also, a ton of games came out that we're going to discuss about early impressions and reviews so far. But without further ado, let's go ahead. Let's get right into the wrestling part of the show. And we're going to start things off with the two big things that happened before we get into the predictions this week. Are really the two big things that we need to talk about. The team formations being finalized for Survivor Series during this week, during the Go Home show. We can discuss as we go ahead and talk about the card. The two big things that happened was that Becky Lynch invaded Raw on Monday and looked like she was going to take Ronda Rousey's arm off, led an invasion by the SmackDown women's division into Raw. And when she got into the ring, she got hit by a stray punch, a stray shot by Nia Jax. Almost looked like a shoot shot, but she clearly just was trying to forearm her and I guess missed. Broke her face, which looks like she either broke a bone here or broke her nose. Bloodied her up something nasty. But Becky Lynch was not to be deterred, continued to beat down Ronda Rousey after Ronda Rousey attempted to make the save. And then in one of the most iconic images, and the most iconic imagery I've ever seen in pro wrestling, Becky Lynch stood in the audience with her arms raised, like, come at me, bro, with blood all over her face, all up and down her arms, and just looked like an absolute, complete, and total badass. Unfortunately, we found out 24 hours later that because of that stray punch from Nia Jax that created such an iconic image, Becky Lynch not only suffered a broken face or broken nose, but also a severe concussion, and as such, she was not medically cleared by the doctors to be able to compete at Survivor Series. So that match is now off. Becky Lynch named a replacement, which was her friend Charlotte, gave her an awkward hug on SmackDown. And Charlotte said that she's going to be fighting for Becky Lynch at Survivor Series. Just wow to start things off. The Becky Lynch has gone into the complete stratosphere as far as, and no pun intended, because she might actually be reaching a level higher than Trish Stratus may have even at this point right now. She is on one of the biggest runs of her career, of any women's wrestler's career. And the selling and the job that her and Ronda did on Raw is making everybody salivate intensely for that match between the two of them. It is a ready-made WrestleMania main event. Indications and rumors say that Vince McMahon now wants it to be the WrestleMania main event. And as much as Nia Jax is, it's believed that she is getting heat backstage for being an unsafe worker, given that she did that. I believe she was also the person who gave Alexa Bliss her concussion. It may have actually been a blessing in disguise, because instead of this being, I'm not talking to you, Echo, please be quiet. Despite, this ruining the Survivor Series main event, it could be a blessing in disguise, because this just had a feeling of something special, something WrestleMania worthy. And this has all the steam to become a WrestleMania main event. And not just a main event, like the final show, the final match, the closing match at WrestleMania, the first ever time it would ever happen in a women's match in history. A women's match would do this for WrestleMania in history. And I think they've found lightning, and they've caught in a bottle with Becky Lynch and Ronda Rousey here. And I am so excited. Like, I've been following Becky Lynch on Twitter, and please, if you guys are not following Becky Lynch on Twitter this week and you have a Twitter account, what are you doing? Go check it out right now, because it is insane. She has been on a absolute tear, tearing apart Ronda Rousey and Nia Jax as they tried to insult her. Ronda was talking about how she was a one-only man, and how like she's sad that she wasn't going to be able to make it to the fight, even though like Ronda's a true fighter, and was once again bringing up the fact that Becky Lynch used to work as a stewardess and all this other stuff and all these other odd jobs, and went to clown school. And Becky Lynch just responded with, and I quote, "Ronnie, TLDR, when I got my face broke, I got up, owned you, then showed up the next day looking to fight some more. When you got your face broke, you hid for a year under your blankie. Your mind is as weak as your jaw, and I'm going to move heaven and earth to come destroy them both." God damn. What a response from Becky Lynch. Like, good Lord. Just straight savagery from Becky Lynch. And it makes you believe. It makes you believe that these two women want to tear each other apart. And it makes you want to see the match that much more. And to add to it, Nia Jax also showed an image of a gash in her knuckle, and swelling and bruising from where she accidentally, or inadvertently hit Becky Lynch. And then Becky Lynch responded to that, saying, "You gave me your best sucker punch, but I got back up to destroy your whole roster. They won't let me fight, but I'll get back up from that too. It's what I do. So enjoy your one free shot, because as bad as my memory is now, I haven't forgotten you, bitch." Like, wow. Wow. Jesus Christ. Becky Lynch, again, absolutely on fire. As her catchphrase says, she is straight fire right now. There is nothing Becky Lynch can do wrong at this moment. And I can't wait for her to come back. This is going to be perfect. What I would expect from what I want to see out of this now is I want to see them strip the SmackDown title from Becky Lynch. And then I hope that she's cleared by the Royal Rumble, and I want her to win as a surprise entrant towards the end of the Women's Royal Rumble, and then use her opportunity, like Asuka went from Raw to SmackDown, to go from SmackDown to Raw and challenge Ronda Rousey for the Raw Women's Championship, which Ronda would still hold, and she would also have to go through Nia Jax in order to do so, or would just go after Nia Jax as well, being on the same show now, and then it just culminates in the WrestleMania main event. That is what I want to see. I can't freaking wait to see that happen. By the way, I want to say hi to Adam Ritt in chat. What did you miss? You missed nothing. I haven't done any predictions yet. Talking about the big stuff that happened to lead into and cause the final card of both WarGames and SmackDown and Survivor Series before I do the predictions. So I haven't missed anything yet. You're still on time. You're good, man. And then that's not even like the only thing that happened this week. So clearly, okay, like Charlotte versus Ronda, we thought we were going to get the slow build to that, and that was going to be the WrestleMania match, until we got a taste of Becky Lynch and Ronda and realized that needs to be the WrestleMania main event. Now we're going to get Charlotte versus Ronda on no build, which kind of sucks, but it should be a good match. And this Becky versus this Charlotte versus Ronda, and then the Becky versus Ronda thing, especially if you throw up like, say also after Royal Rumble, say Shayna Baszler loses her title, and then you bring the rest of the 4 horsewomen back, and you pit them also against Becky and Ronda going into it, and then say you've already got Sasha and Bayley sitting there on Raw. Maybe you do your 4 horsewomen versus 4 horsewomen rivalry as the main event at WrestleMania, and you just have it be Becky who faces Ronda instead of Charlotte. So now we're going to lead into the other big match. Well, like I said, we lost that match. And since Charlotte and Ronda didn't have that big build, we didn't have this huge, like, on fire match that everybody wanted to see, that people are going to be talking about Survivor Series for. So what did Vince McMahon and them do? They had Daniel Bryan face AJ Styles for the WWE Championship as a main event on SmackDown. And Daniel Bryan, after the ref was knocked down, gave a gross punt low blow to AJ Styles, followed by the knee, and Daniel Bryan is your new WWE champion and a heel. What? One of the most shocking turns we've ever seen in the history of wrestling, capping off an insane 24 hours of WWE. I can't friggin' believe what happened in the course of 24 hours. Like, I was watching recaps of Raw, watching the YouTube clips of Raw as the news on Daniel Bryan happened, so I immediately went and watched what happened with Daniel Bryan and AJ Styles. Just goddamn insane. And now we're finally going to get, this means we are finally going to get Daniel Bryan versus Brock Lesnar, a match that fans have been wanting for years. What? What is going on? What is going on in WWE? Like, I was talking to one of my coworkers, like, I think WWE might very well be the best it's been. This might be the best week, one of the best weeks that WWE has ever had. One of the most insane 24 hours WWE has ever had. They are just killing it with what they're doing. And Daniel Bryan immediately went into a new heel character, and he looks amazing. Daniel Bryan is a great heel, and it looks like we're going to see a new kind of heel that we've never seen out of Daniel Bryan in WWE before. And I have confidence Daniel Bryan's going to be able to pull it off, and it's going to be amazing. And there's rumors that Daniel Bryan might actually hold on to this title until WrestleMania, and we may see Miz get a face turn and have a face Miz versus a heel Daniel Bryan for the WWE Championship at Mania, as opposed to the other way around. And I'm right, you're asking why turn Daniel Bryan a heel? Because he was getting stale as a face. I even have to admit, as a massive Daniel Bryan fan, his face run, since he came back, had kind of started to fall a little flat, get a little stale, get a little old. He hasn't been heel in forever. Now people are talking about Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan can be an amazing heel. So I think this was a great turn at the right time. I think it's a perfect idea because his character was finally starting to slow down. What does AJ do at Mania? I don't know. We'll find out. But AJ Styles is a premier performer. I'm sure they will find a marquee match and a marquee opponent for him. I am not worried about AJ Styles. AJ Styles had the WWE Championship for over a year. It was his second run. Both runs have been long. I'm sure it's not the last time AJ Styles will hold the championship. I'm sure AJ Styles will be in a rivalry with Daniel Bryan for the next couple months surrounded by the WWE Championship. I'm not worried about AJ Styles at all. Adam, right, you're asking, you think Becky wins the Rumble and faces Ronda Mania? That's what I'm thinking. What happens with the SmackDown Women's Championship? I don't know. Maybe we revisit Asuka versus Charlotte. You could put it on Nikki Cross, who is rumored to potentially be the final member of the SmackDown women's team on Survivor Series. So, yeah. No, I did not predict TakeOver. I haven't done any predictions whatsoever. But getting back to what I was saying about Daniel Bryan, just it is amazing. It's arguably potentially one of the greatest heel turns of all time. Out of nowhere. Nobody saw this coming. Daniel Bryan fell into the role almost immediately, automatically, so seamlessly just the facial expressions, the body language he was giving off the second he hit that low blow, it was incredible. And I can't wait to see where they go. The only question I have here is technically you've now got a heel versus heel main event. Like, are the fans going to cheer Brock Lesnar? Are they going to boo both men? I think they're going to still try to cheer Daniel Bryan. So, like, it's going to be awkward, even though the match is going to be awesome. But, yeah. It's just what it is right now. But it's crazy. It's insane. And by the way, the idea to have Bryan beat AJ Styles came from Vince McMahon for him to win the title, but the heel turn was Daniel Bryan's idea. Daniel Bryan basically said that he felt that his face character was getting stale and his character needed a revitalization, and he believed a heel turn could do it. So they said, all right, let's do it. Let's pull the green right. Adam, you say can't see fans booing Bryan because of the yes chants. Well, you don't realize also, before Bryan did the yes chants, he was also doing the no chants. So the fans were getting in on that too. So the fans still do the no chants. So I could see the fans doing no. And just because somebody turns heel doesn't mean the fans won't cheer them. I mean, look at what happened with Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch turned heel, but she was still seen as a face. So who knows? This is uncharted territory we're going into with Daniel Bryan now. So I feel like we should see what happens now. Things pan out. I think the crowd might still be behind Daniel Bryan on Sunday for Survivor Series, just because he's facing Brock Lesnar. But after that, I'm sure he'll double down and do some pretty nasty stuff to make sure he gets booed. So, yeah, those are the two big stories that happened this week with regards to the build towards Survivor Series. Other stuff that happened this week is we found out that for TakeOver, Undisputed Era will have the advantage against the team of War Raiders, Pete Dunne, and Ricochet, as Kyle O'Reilly, with the help of Undisputed Era and a NXT Tag Team title belt, defeated Hanson for the right to have the advantage. What the advantage means is that in the WarGames match, two men start off the match, one member of each team, and then after a certain period of time, a new competitor enters the ring, enters the match. So the way it's going to work now is whoever has advantage, their team comes out to give the two-man advantage. So it'll start out with one Undisputed Era member, and one member from the other team. And then after a certain amount of time, it'll be an Undisputed Era member who comes out. So they will have two people to one. Then after a certain amount of time, the member from the other team will come back to even things up. And then after a certain amount of time, a new Undisputed Era member will come out. So it'll be a 3-on-2 advantage. Then it will be 3-3, then 4-3, and then 4-4. So that's how that's going to go. That was the only really big major development from NXT. Bianca Belair faced Yuna Kim and remained undefeated. That was the other big stuff. In NXT UK, the NXT UK Women's Division Championship Tournament began. Dakota Kai won her match. And then I'm trying to remember who else it was. Ginny won her match. I'm trying to remember. I can't remember off the top of my head who they faced off against. I know that Ginny beat, I can't remember her first name, but her last name was Mackenzie. And she was trained by Pete Dunne, and she's only 18 years old. I remember the look of the person who Dakota Kai has faced and beat. She's been on NXT UK before, but again, I'm not familiar with all the names. So yeah, they advanced to the first round. We technically already know who won because this was taped a couple months ago, but it was cool stuff. And we're seeing more development in the tag division. It seems like Flash Morgan Webster and Mark Andrews are officially going to become a tag team. And then after Trent Seven faced off against why am I blanking on his name? Zach Gibson. The Coffee Brothers came out. I can't remember if they were with Wolfgang, but they came out and beat up on Trent Seven. It looks like the Kofi Brothers are going to be going for the NXT UK tag titles as well. So the NXT UK tag division is starting to shape up too. So those were the big developments on NXT UK. Nothing really to impact WarGames or Survivor Series. And with that said, let's go ahead and let's get into the predictions. We're going to do predictions for WarGames, then predictions for Survivor Series, and then I'm going to do wrestling news before we switch over to video games. Now, just a friendly reminder, I am going to give these predictions out right now. You can join in on the predictions by going and joining my Discord server. I will put it in the Twitch chat right now. You can also get it on the Twitch channel page. You can find it in the description on YouTube, the video description, and in the show notes in the audio version of the podcast. If you join the Discord server, there are a couple of... Discord server is free, Adam Ritt. There's no cost to join a Discord server. It's just a server where people hang out and chat. So you click on the link. It's an invite to the server. You join it. If you got to download Discord, you download Discord. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything. We have 2 Super Grapple Bros channels in there. One of them is viewer predictions. What I'm going to do is after I'm done doing the live show, I'm going to put in the cards for both, put into the viewer predictions channel the cards for both TakeOver WarGames and Survivor Series. Then I will put in my picks. Once I do that, you guys are free to put in your predictions, your picks for each show into that channel. You have until the opening bell rings for TakeOver WarGames to get in your WarGames predictions, and until the opening bell for the first match begins for Survivor Series to get in your Survivor Series predictions. Whoever has the most predictions among all the viewers for WarGames and Survivor Series separately will each get their name. Will get their names shouted out. And we'll also do a shout out for whoever gets the most combined predictions correct as well. Also, you will get a shout out if you tie or defeat me in predictions. So make sure you get involved in the predictions chatter and discussion, and go for bragging rights and get yourself shouted out on the podcast on the next episode, and try to see if you can beat me. I haven't been too great in the predictions game of late, so you've got a good chance of getting shouted out. Anyway, let's get into the predictions with NXT TakeOver WarGames, the second WarGames, the second annual. Hopefully it's annual. Hopefully we'll have more after this. So let's get into the match. First off, what we're going to do is we're going to go with Shayna Baszler versus Kairi Sane, a 2 out of 3 falls match for the NXT Women's Championship. For me personally, I can't believe that Kairi Sane is going to win the championship back so soon. I don't know if she's ever going to win the championship back. I feel like Candice LeRae or somebody else is going to take the championship off of Shayna Baszler. And I feel like this is the end of the rivalry. I think Shayna Baszler is going to retain. She's not going to lose the championship until either the takeover of the Royal Rumble in January or the takeover of WrestleMania weekend if they decide not to call her up after Royal Rumble. So I am going to say that Shayna Baszler is actually going to retain with the help of her fellow 4 horsewomen. So I think that advantage, thanks to Jessamine Duke and Marina Shafir, are going to help her keep the championship, much like they did at Evolution. So my pick for that match is Shayna Baszler defeating Kairi Sane. Then after that, we've got Aleister Black versus Johnny Gargano, and this is the match that can very much go either way. Because Aleister Black has not lost clean in a singles match in a long time. But who's to say Johnny Gargano is going to play clean? He's admitted in his promo that you have to get dirty and do whatever it takes. And Johnny Wrestling has been obsessed with Tommaso Ciampa. I can't, as much as I feel like they want to protect Aleister Black and have him destroy Johnny Gargano, I can't help but think that something dirty, something sinister is going to happen. I would say that maybe Candice LeRae would also turn heel, But then you can't have her be heel against Shayna Baszler. Unless, of course, Kairi Sane wins and you have a heel Candice LeRae go up against Kairi Sane for the NXT Women's Championship. However, I feel like as much as I feel like it's leaning towards Aleister Black just destroying Johnny Gargano, I cannot let go of the fact that they are eventually going to maybe do Gargano versus Ciampa. So I lean kind of towards Gargano. But at the same time, Ciampa hasn't had enough time to really turn face here. And you need a face to go up against against Ciampa. So I don't know. Like, really, I'm not sure. It's a coin flip right here. I keep convincing myself as I talk about this that it's going to be Black or Johnny Gargano, but I think I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say it's going to be Johnny Gargano by nefarious means. And I think we're going to start to see a slow build for towards Gargano and Ciampa at the be-all end-all for the NXT Championship. Or actually, you know what I think is going to happen here? Here's what I'm going to say. Actually, I'm changing my prediction. I think Aleister Black is going to win, but it's going to be via disqualification. I think Johnny Gargano is going to do something dirty. Maybe he gets caught, or maybe he because this isn't a no DQ match. I think it's going to be an amazing match, but at the very end, Gargano is going to do something to get himself disqualified, or to get out so that way he gets one over on Aleister Black, maybe infuriating Black, because I don't feel like because I feel like that way you protect Black, he still wins the match, and Johnny still looks strong as a heel. It hurts neither man. Both men are protected. You can continue this story going further into the next pay-per-view while still developing Ciampa's character, and you can still have both men claiming that they have a right to face Ciampa for the title. Maybe you finally have your triple threat match for the championship involving both men at the Royal Rumble. So my official pick, I was originally going to say Johnny Gargano, but my official pick is going to say that it's going to be Aleister Black, but it's going to be via disqualification, because Johnny Gargano is going to get down and dirty and do something real nasty to get himself disqualified against Aleister Black. After that, we have Tommaso Ciampa versus Velveteen Dream. And how amazing is it? Let's just take a second to acknowledge how amazing it is that Velveteen Dream, Patrick Clark, is now in an NXT Championship match. I will say, however, I really am not invested much in the story of this. It's more that just Ciampa is just a strong heel who is kind of waiting for Black and Gargano's storyline to develop, so that way he has a strong story to go into. So Velveteen Dream, as good as he is kind of just like a placeholder opponent and challenger. However, I still think this is going to be an amazing match. But because of how insignificant I feel this rivalry is, and the grander story of the epic that is Ciampa versus Gargano and Ciampa as the NXT champion, I do not think the Velveteen Dream is going to pull off the upset and win the championship here. I'm pretty confident that Tommaso Ciampa is going to retain and continue his black dark reign. Then Adam, you're asking me if Velveteen Dream gets called up. I don't think so. He might. I think if he does, it'll probably be in the Royal Rumble match. They normally never call people up around Survivor Series. Like, Nikki Cross getting called up like a couple weeks ago was a rare oddity. So I can't believe that they would call him up after this. Maybe after the next takeover for Royal Rumble. But we'll see, because they might also decide to keep Dream around for another year, because once Gargano and Ciampa are done with their rivalry and move on to the main roster, I can see Dream as being a main contender for that NXT championship. Of course, he would have to contend with the likes of Aleister Black if he doesn't get called up, and Adam Cole, and Roddy Strong, or whatever member of Undisputed Era doesn't have the championship at that point, or Ricochet. But, I could totally see say Aleister Black, Johnny Gargano, and Tommaso Ciampa all get called up after WrestleMania. I could see while Ricochet and Cole continued their spat that Dream and, say, Lars Sullivan have a rivalry for the NXT Championship. I think that could be pretty entertaining. So who knows? We'll see. I don't think so. I think they're going to keep him there for a while, but who knows? Then we've got Undisputed Era versus taking on Ricochet, Pete Dunne, and the War Raiders. As much as I want Undisputed Era to win this, I feel like Adam Cole doesn't need the win to challenge for the North American Championship if he wants to again. And I don't think he needs to. And I think he's more so about to shift and transition over to the NXT Championship soon. Meanwhile, I feel like the War Raiders need the win. I've seen this brought up. I feel like the War Raiders need the win in order to have a solid claim to the NXT Tag Team Championships that Bobby Fish and that Kyle O'Reilly and Roddy Strong are holding now. So, and plus, also, you make Ricochet, who's the North American champion, look strong. You will make Pete Dunne, who is the face of the NXT UK brand, look strong. So I think, I don't know if so I think that the War Raiders and Pete Dunne and Ricochet are probably going to end up winning. I would love to see Undisputed Era win, but I think it's going to be Pete Dunne, War Raiders, and Ricochet. So that way Ricochet and the North American title look good. The War Raiders can challenge for the NXT tag titles. And Pete Dunne in the UK division as a whole looks strong and can hopefully draws more viewers over to NXT UK. Does Adam Cole get called up with Undisputed Era after WrestleMania? I don't believe so. I think Undisputed Era is going to be in NXT for another year and a half. I think not this WrestleMania, but the WrestleMania after. If not next SummerSlam, then after WrestleMania, not this one coming up, but after WrestleMania 36, Undisputed Era is going to get called up because none of them have challenged for the NXT Championship. And I think every single member of Undisputed Era, Adam Cole primarily, but every single member is a legit contender for the NXT Championship. So you can either keep them together and have them run roughshod for like a good solid extra year in NXT, or you can break them up on NXT and maybe have them be brought back together when they get called up, and have all four of them have a rivalry for the NXT Championship. I mean, tell me how good the thought of next year, WrestleMania weekend, for TakeOver, you have Roddy Strong versus Bobby Fish versus Kyle O'Reilly versus Adam Cole for the NXT Championship. I think that's pretty damn sweet. So we'll see what happens. I think that would be amazing. I think it would be awesome. I don't want Undisputed Era to be broken up, so I would hope if they did pull the trigger on that, then when they called them up to the main roster, that they would be together again. So we'll see. But I'm pretty confident Undisputed Era isn't going anywhere for at least another year. What is it? It's November now. So October, for at least another 9 months. Either when SummerSlam is over, or about a year and a half from now when WrestleMania happens. So just to go again over my picks once again for NXT TakeOver WarGames, I have Shayna Baszler retaining by defeating Kairi Sane. I have Aleister Black winning by disqualification over Johnny Gargano. I have Tommaso Ciampa retaining his NXT Championship against Velveteen Dream. And then I have the War Raiders, Pete Dunne and Ricochet, defeating Undisputed Era in the namesake match of the event, the War Games match. So do not forget, get your predictions in. I will be posting those after the live show is over. Now let's get over to what will happen the following night, which is Survivor Series. We're going to run through the card here now. We'll start off with the non-SmackDown versus Raw match, which is the Cruiserweight Championship match of Buddy Murphy versus Mustafa Ali. I love both of these guys. They're both incredible workers in the ring. And I think that Mustafa Ali has a bright future in WWE. I see him as a future Cruiserweight champion, but tonight is not the night. I don't think so. I feel like Buddy Murphy should be the face of 205 Live, should be the face of the Cruiserweight division right now, and he should not lose the Cruiserweight Championship in his first title defense after winning it at Super Showdown. So I'm going with Buddy Murphy over Mustafa Ali. After that, we've got the tag team Survivor Series match, which includes Team SmackDown, captained by the Usos, which also includes the New Day. We don't know which two members of the New Day yet, I believe. Sanity. We don't know which two members of Sanity yet. The Colognes, Primo and Epico. The Good Brothers, Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows. That's Team SmackDown. Will be facing off against Team Raw, captained by Chad Gable and Bobby Roode, which also includes the Revival, the B Team, the Ascension, and Lucha House Party. I've got to imagine, I feel like this is one that SmackDown's going to win early. Bowling Dude, you can't wait to beat me in predictions? Well, make sure you get your predictions in on Discord, my man. And good luck. I feel like this is one to where, you've got the Usos and the New Day on one side. Two of the greatest tag teams of all time. So unless one of them heel turns on the other, and you've also got Sanity in there. So unless one turns on the other or Sanity turns on whoever else is left, unless there's some tomfoolery that happens in the match, I think Team SmackDown's walking away with the win on this one. The only way I can see this turning around is if not going their way, is if they either want to give the Revival a big win to push them towards the NXT tag titles, which I could see happening, or they want to have Sanity attack their own people, or the New Day or the Usos turn on one another. So I'm picking Team SmackDown with the caveat there is a chance that Raw could pull off the upset, but I'm going with Team SmackDown in the tag team Survivor Series match. Then after that, we'll keep with the tag team stuff and go with the tag team title, tag team champions versus tag team champions of AOP versus The Bar. I think that as much as you would maybe want to build up the young guys in AOP, I think The Bar will still win this, which would give SmackDown 2 wins over Raw. I think AOP will get some really good moments. I think maybe Big Show's been added to The Bar specifically so that way AOP can destroy him at Survivor Series and give them a really good moment. But I think The Bar is going to win this one, just to show, again, just how much better the SmackDown tag division is over Raw. AOP could pull off the sleeper win, but I think AOP is going to get a good moment by destroying the Big Show, showing off their strength, but I think The Bar is eventually going to win that match. Then let's go into a singles match, another singles match. We'll go with Seth Rollins versus Shinsuke Nakamura, Intercontinental Champion versus United States Champion. I am going to go with SmackDown once again, which is going to really put the pressure on Raw, and I think Shinsuke Nakamura is going to win and defeat Seth Rollins. Why? Because Dean Ambrose is going to screw over Seth Rollins in this match, and that Shinsuke is going to get the win. Rollins is going to be distracted. Shinsuke is focused. That is the story of this match, and Ambrose wants to bring nothing but pain and suffering to Rollins. Ambrose is going to get involved in the finish. Nakamura is going to get the win. And that's going to put SmackDown up 3-0, but don't worry because stuff's going to start happening in favor of Raw. At least I believe so. The women's Survivor Series match. This one's hard to call. Before this week, I would have picked Team Raw. But I think, because I'm pretty sure Nia Jax and Tamina would have been the survivors. But now that Nia Jax has some heat, I don't know what's going to happen. However, you need to try and 50-50 book things, and you've got SmackDown up 3-0. And you've got to lead it, and you've got to have things all evened up at the end for the big match between either be that D-Bry versus Brock Lesnar or the male Survivor Series match. I believe the TBD person, if it's not Mandy Rose, it's my first guess is actually Nikki Cross. My second guess will be Mandy Rose. I can see either Nikki Cross and Asuka being the sole survivors for SmackDown, but you know what? I'm going to go with my gut decision. Nia has been built up to be the next challenger for Ronda for the championship. And they can't really reverse course on that right now. I mean, Red Emirates, it could be one of the Iconics, but I feel like it's better if it's Nikki Cross, because Nikki Cross was new, keeps attention on Nikki Cross, or you put it on Mandy Rose, because Mandy Rose cut that promo a week ago talking about how she was left out on SmackDown Live. I feel like they've got to double down here. They've got to let Nia Jax win, build up Nia so that way Ronda can beat her, and she looks like a legitimate threat. And then she still looks like a legitimate threat when Becky shows up to absolutely destroy her. So I'm going to go with Team Raw winning this one over Team SmackDown. Nia Jax, if not the sole survivor, will likely survive, I believe, with Tamina. After that, we will get the women's champion, Ronda Rousey versus Charlotte Flair, the stand-in for Becky Lynch. No doubt about it, Ronda's winning this match. There was no build-up. Charlotte is still coming off a loss to Becky. It's still going to be a good match. It'll be a fun match, but I don't think with the fact that they're going to be, and damn well should be going full force into a WrestleMania program of Ronda Rousey versus Becky Lynch, Ronda takes this win. SmackDown, Raw, all of a sudden, thanks to the women's division, gets 2 quick wins, and things are 3-2. Then, I'll go to Daniel Bryan versus Brock Lesnar, which could be the tiebreaker for the win, but I'm going to leave the men's Survivor Series match to be the tiebreaker, because that one I'm a little less sure about. We got Daniel Bryan versus Brock Lesnar. As much as I would love to see Daniel Bryan win as a heel, and I would be shocked, I would love it if they decide to shock everybody and let him beat Brock Lesnar. I do not think Daniel Bryan is winning this match. I do not think Brock Lesnar loses this match. As much as you guys might not want to like it, as much as I maybe might not want to like it and would rather see Daniel Bryan win, I don't think Brock Lesnar loses until he loses that Universal Championship. Brock Lesnar wins. Everything's tied at 3-3 going into the men's Survivor Series match, the rubber match for everything, where we've got Team Raw, captained by Baron Corbin. I didn't mention this, by the way, in the women's SmackDown, in the women's Survivor Series match, Team Raw is being captained by Alexa Bliss, and Team SmackDown was being captained by Charlotte. I don't know who's taking over as a captain in her place. Could be whoever the TBD person is. It might be Asuka or Naomi. On to the men's Survivor Series match. We have Team Raw captained by Baron Corbin, which involves Dolph Ziggler, Drew McIntyre, Braun Strowman, Finn Balor, and Bobby Lashley versus Team SmackDown, which is The Miz, Shane McMahon, Rey Mysterio, Samoa Joe, and Jeff Hardy. Jeff Hardy standing in for Daniel Bryan. I'm going to go with Team Raw winning because, of course, Raw always wins. And I think Braun Strowman's going to win, being one of the sole survivors. Unless Baron Corbin screws him over, I think he keep Braun looking strong with Lesnar. Unless Lesnar maybe shows back up to screw over Braun. You could also have Braun show up to maybe screw over Lesnar against Daniel Bryan. There could be a lot of tomfoolery happening, but I think, Raw's, as much as I love SmackDown, Raw has always been the flagship. And I think Raw will come out, win the rubber match, and win Survivor Series, as they almost always do. I think Shane McMahon and Miz are going to be come towards the end. There's probably going to be, there might be some, conflictingness between the Miz and Shane. Maybe to have Shane be more of a heel, transition him, maybe have him align with Daniel Bryan, and you get more sympathy for the Miz. Braun Strowman ends up with the win. That's my prediction. So my predictions for Survivor Series has Raw coming out on top, 4-3. The complete result predictions I have is Buddy Murphy retains the Cruiserweight Championship. Team SmackDown wins both the tag team and Team SmackDown wins the tag team Survivor Series match. The Bar also defeats AOP for Team SmackDown in the tag team champion versus champion match. We have Shinsuke Nakamura defeating Seth Rollins thanks to help from Dean Ambrose in the U.S. versus Intercontinental Champion match. Then we have Team Raw getting their first win in the Women's Survivor Series match thanks to Nia Jax. We've got... And also, one thing I want to specify about these predictions, you do not have to mention Sole Survivors or how the match is won. You just have to pick which side wins. Then in the women's match, Raw Women's Champion versus Charlotte Flair, the SmackDown Women's Champion stand-in for Becky Lynch. We have Ronda Rousey winning, making it 3-2. Brock Lesnar defeats Daniel Bryan to tie things up, and then Raw comes back from being down 3-0 to win 4-3, which makes actually a really good story, as Braun Strowman is able to capitalize on The Miz and Shane McMahon having some sort of miscommunication stemming from the what would you call the little bit of tension that has stemmed from the World Cup tournament, and ends up winning it for Team Raw. So there we go. I will put down, once again, check out the Discord server. It is in the video description on YouTube. It is on the channel page. I will put it also in the chat on Twitch. And it is in the show notes for the audio version of the podcast. What was I saying? I will be putting in the once the live show is over, I will be putting in the cards as well as my picks, and then you guys can go ahead and make your predictions. You have until the first bell of the first match of WarGames wins. Bell rings to get in your predictions for WarGames. You have until the bell rings for the first match of Survivor Series to get your predictions in for that. May the best predictor win. With that said, let's move on to a couple of pieces of news in the wrestling world before we switch over to the video games section. Has been revealed that Ric Flair will be showing up at the Starrcade event, which will be happening next Saturday as a network special. And we got an updated card because the US Bank Arena revealed a new event page lineup. So for after the Dust for Survivor Series settles, we will have Starrcade, and on just 6 days later, and that will include appearances by Charlotte, Alexa Bliss, Dolph Ziggler, and many more live. A special concert from Elias with WWE Hall of Famer, the Nature Boy Ric Flair. So he'll be involved in the Elias bit. We will have The Miz versus Rusev with Lana in his corner. Finn Balor versus Drew McIntyre. The Bar versus the New Day for the SmackDown Tag Team titles. Shinsuke Nakamura will face Rey Mysterio for the United States Championship. AJ Styles and Samoa Joe will battle in a steel cage match. Braun Strowman versus Baron Corbin will happen. Rollins and Ambrose will battle it out for the Intercontinental Championship in a street fight. And I believe that is the main event. As of now, no other matches announced. Did I hear what James Ellsworth did? I know that James Ellsworth was in the news and he got a lawyer and said that allegations against him were baseless, but I didn't look into it too much. Just because there's a lot of stuff to cover in this show. If you want to inform me and provide a news link, and it's that important to you guys, I will read it off. The next piece of news I have is non-WWE related, and it involves Cody Rhodes. As we've discussed, Cody Rhodes has lost the NWA title. He says he's doing something new in 2019. He's going to be transitioning to some new type of role or whatever in the business in 2019. There are rumors that he's going. Some people think he's going to WWE. Other people think he's going to be starting his own promotion with the Elite. his contract with New Japan's ending. He is not going to be at the G1 Supercard, and we've found out that he is not renewing his contract with the ROH, which ends at the end of the year. And we now know what his final match with ROH as of now is going to be. He is actually going to be in a Ring of Honor World Championship match against Jay Lethal at ROH Final Battle, which takes place at the Hammerstein Ballroom in New York City, and that actually colors me interested. It's Friday, December 14th. I might actually go because, fun fact, this is actually the 10-year anniversary of when I actually got to go see ROH Final Battle 2008, in which case the main event was actually Austin Aries versus Tyler Black, aka Seth Rollins, for the ROH Championship, and it also on the show was Nigel McGuinness, this guy called Daniel Bryan, this team that was known as the world greatest tag team, including Chris Hero and some guy named Claudio Castaglione, who is also Cesaro nowadays. They were also there. I believe Sami Zayn as El Generico and Kevin Owens were both as Kevin Steen. I believe they were involved in the tag match. So it'd be interesting to come back 10 years later to check out ROH in the Hammerstein Ballroom on December 14th. So who knows? Maybe I'll talk to D-Murph, see if he wants to go check that out in December. That's like about a month away. So we'll see. Anyway, the tweet from Cody Rhodes that confirmed that this would be his last match. They announced the match, ROH did, and this was yesterday. And Cody responded by quote tweeting and saying, "Jay was the first match I had in ROH 2 years ago. He will be my last, and I will take the World Championship into free agency." I don't think that's going to happen, because if it does, then he's definitely going to come back to ROH. But it'll be entertaining to see what happens and to see what kind of story they can build around it. Woo! And then the last bit of wrestling news I want to talk about involves a chick magnet who is also a punk. There was an interview with SI.com, I believe it was, or no, with the Associated Press. Dan Gelson, the Associated Press, talked with CM Punk, just talking about all the stuff he's going to be doing, including being a commentator for Cage Fury Fighting Championships, which he's going to be doing on December 14th. He asked him just, I was talking to him about the WWE Universe, the wrestling fans still chanting his name at shows, and I figured this is just a nice little quote to put out and to show that CM Punk may be done with professional wrestling. He may his heart and love for the business and for WWE may be completely destroyed, but this just shows that he doesn't forget his fans, the people who made him and the people who admire him and respect what he's done. Anyway, Gelston brought this up to Punk, and he said, quote, "You stop it," meaning that he stopped wrestling, he left the business, and 5 years later, people still talk to you, fans still chant your name. That's powerful to me. So I think that's pretty cool that Punk acknowledges just how amazing and cool it is, and how honored he is that fans still admire him and chant his name 5 years after he's been done. And he also said that he doesn't pay attention to what's going on in the world of pro wrestling at all, which I don't blame him. I don't blame him given what's happened to him. So, all right. That is it for the wrestling section of the show. We're only about we're closing in on about an hour into the show, almost 45 minutes to an hour. We're going to make the switch over to the video games section, and there's a lot of stuff to cover in this section now. We're going to start off with what was potentially, arguably, the biggest story of the week, and that is that Sony and the PlayStation brand will not be present for E3 2019. The story that I have here is from IGN, which pulls information from a Game Informer report as well as statements from Sony itself. The story from Game Informer let's see. Sony and PlayStation will, instead of attending E3 2019, which is the first time in 24 years, it's the first time Sony has ever not appeared at E3. The company said that Game Informer said the companies will instead be exploring new and familiar ways to engage, or Sony and PlayStation said they will be exploring new and familiar ways to engage their community in 2019. Quote from them. As the industry evolves, Sony Interactive Entertainment continues to look for inventive opportunities to engage the community. This is a statement they gave to Game Informer. PlayStation fans mean the world to us, and we always want to innovate, think differently, and experiment with new ways to delight gamers. As a result, we have decided not to participate in E3 in 2019. We are exploring new and familiar ways to engage our community in 2019 and can't wait to share our plans with you. Sony was then asked if they would be having an off-site event, similar to how EA and Xbox have been handling E3 the past couple of years. And then PlayStation Senior Vice President of Communications Jennifer Clark answered, and I quote, "We will not activate or hold a press conference around E3, so they will not be there at all." So they were then asked about PSX and E3. And it said they're looking at events as a whole and how Sony is quote looking at events as a whole and how we can speak more to our fans and continue to wow them. The timing of PSX and E3 didn't allow for that, but lots of exciting things to come, and we hope to share shortly. Some of our biggest games will have key milestones next year, so we'll work hard to blow those up. Some people are thinking that this might mean that they are going to do PSX next year and only PSX, and that will be a big blowout for the PlayStation 5 as much of all their other stuff. And maybe it's because they don't have enough information for the PS5 come June, or not. But this is a big deal. This is one of the big three. Nintendo has stopped doing traditional press conferences, but they still did a Nintendo Direct, and they were still there at E3 at the Los Angeles Convention Center. This is the first time that I can remember that one of the big three has pulled out of an E3 in its entirety. And it's crazy. It's insane. I don't know if this is a good move by Sony. I don't know if it's a bad move. It kind of also shows the indication that, the industry is evolving, and maybe we don't need this big tentpole event like E3 as much as it is a celebration for the video game industry and all things gaming. You got to ask the question, does it make sense financially for these companies to be having these massive booths, paying to have the booth, paying to have those spots, dedicating all that time to those demos, paying those people to work there for all their travel expenses to go to Los Angeles and all of that, to spend money on all the marketing and everything. Does it make financial sense to do all that when you can just do an online broadcast like a Nintendo Direct and get people to tune in, or do things on your own where the spotlight is solely on you? So I don't know if this is going to be a mistake by Sony or if this is just a one-time thing, and maybe they just didn't have enough. They felt ready for June and didn't want to rush things. But this is a big deal, and Sony's presence will be sorely missed. They were always the press conference that went on last. They almost always ended their shows with a bang. And they also had a huge presence. They had one of the biggest booths in all of E3. And it's going to be interesting to see who fills up that space and who's going to try and fill that hole and fill the void. Surely this is a huge opportunity for Microsoft and Nintendo to steal the spotlight of E3. There's that opening of the opportunity to go last now that maybe Microsoft will jump in on. I mean, technically Nintendo always went last with their Direct, but I mean, of the big like in-person presentation conferences, this is a chance for Microsoft. Maybe Bethesda or EA tries to take it. Maybe Ubisoft does. But this is a huge golden opportunity, I think, for Microsoft to capitalize and regain some of the momentum it's lost in this console generation. And speaking of Xbox and Nintendo, after the news of Sony coming out, that they would not be at E3 2019. Xbox and Nintendo both assured fans that they will be in attendance. This is not the start of some mass exodus of E3. Xbox sent out a simple tweet yesterday saying, simply, we can't wait to see you at E3 2019. Hashtag Xbox at E3. Hashtag Xbox. And then Reggie Fils-Aimé had a quote to represent for Nintendo, saying, quote, E3 is an outstanding opportunity for us to share new games and experiences with fans and business partners from across the globe. Every year we discuss what will be the best way for us to take advantage of the next E3 show in order to bring smiles to people's faces. So, yeah, big news. It'll be really interesting to see just what happens going forward, what Sony will plan for next year, what their blowout's going to be when they reveal the next PS5. What will Xbox do to capitalize? What will Nintendo do to capitalize? Will Xbox reveal their next Xbox now that they know that they have a huge spotlight on them at E3? Will any of the publishers decide to try and step their game up with a big press event? And will E3 suffer from the lack of Sony, or will it still continue on without them? All I know is that it's made E3, this year's upcoming E3, quite possibly one of the most important E3s in history, and it'll be a true test for the show and see if it really can thrive without one of the biggest companies that is one of the faces of the entire show, or was one of the biggest faces of the entire show. And while we're on big tentpole events for gaming, Jeff Keighley and the Game Awards, which is airing December, I believe it's December 4th. I'm looking at it right now. As I confirm the date, however, December 6th is when it will be airing, which is a Thursday. It is just under 3 weeks away. It is 20 days away from when I am recording, which is Friday, the 16th of November. It will be, the Game Awards will be streamed on IGN. I'm sure it'll be streamed other places like Twitch as well, but I'm just reading from IGN. They released their nominees for all the awards. I'm not going to do picks just yet. I really haven't played a lot of the games this year that are nominated, so I feel like I really am not justified in making picks. But I think maybe for the fun of it, like maybe in a couple weeks when we get close, maybe D. Murph and I will do predictions where we won't give our personal opinion, but we'll like predict who we think are gonna win. So maybe we'll do that in a couple of weeks. Just because I know I haven't played a lot of the games that are nominated this year. I don't think D. Murph has either. So we'll see. But anyway, I'm gonna read off all of these nominees for you guys here, just so you know who's gonna be present for and have the potential to win an award at the Game Awards. Also, what is up, Airly, who is in the chat? Long time no see, dude. Good to see you in here in the chat, joining in on the conversation on the show. We're gonna start from the bottom and work our way up here. So the first one is favorite moment of 2017, which is actually favorite moment from the Game Awards show of 2017. And Andrea Renee, by the way, who is one of the part-time co-hosts of, like, she splits duties with, I believe it's Jared Petty, for Kinda Funny Games Daily, and she also is one of the main hosts for What's Good Games. Definitely go check her out. She works her ass off. She is one of the hardest working people in the entire game industry, and she does good work. Go check her out. Go check out What's Good Games. Check out Kinda Funny Games Daily. She put out a good suggestion where maybe instead of favorite moment of the Game Awards, maybe it should be favorite moment or biggest moment in the game industry as a whole for the last year. So things like maybe a big announcement at E3 or the finals of an esports competition, like the crowning like Philadelphia Fusion, or not Philadelphia Fusion, like maybe Philadelphia Fusion, like upsetting New York Excalibur, or Excelsior in the semifinals of the Overwatch League, or London Spitfire winning the first season of the Overwatch League, the Overwatch League beginning, maybe the release of God of War, the departure of a key developer from a studio, Telltale Games shuttering, stuff like that. But anyway, for now, it's favorite moments of the previous Game Awards show. And the nominees are Carol Shaw, who's an industry icon, the performance of the Game Awards show orchestra, Hideo Kojima and Guillermo del Toro coming out together to show new stuff from Death Stranding, Jose Ferez from A Way Out when he said F the Oscars and had that rant, which was goddamn hilarious, which I think that will probably be what wins. I just said I wasn't going to make predictions, and here I am making a prediction. And Zelda Breath of the Wild winning Game of the Year. Then we have Content Creator of the Year, which, again, I don't think I'm going to be making predictions for every single category, but I think I know who's going to win this one. Content Creator of the Year, Dr. Lupo, who is amazing. I love Lupo. He's originally a Destiny content creator and has gone on to great things. Myth Ninja, who is going to win. I highly doubt he will lose this one. Pokemon and Willy Rex. Then we've got Best Esports Moment, which C9 comeback win in Triple OT versus FaZe, G2 beating RNG, KT versus IG base race, OG's massive upset of LGD, and Sonic Fox side switch against Go 1 in DBZ. Then we've got Best Esports Host, which hopefully maybe one day soon, my boy Arda Ocal, formerly known in WWE as Kyle Edwards, will be nominated for this award. We've got Alex Golden Boy Mendez, Alex Machine Richardson, Anders Bloom, FJ Skulls Deporteri, I hope I didn't butcher his name, and Paul Redeye Challoner, or Challoner. Hope I didn't butcher his name either. Then we've got Best Esports Event, E-League Major, Boston 2018, EVO 2018, League of Legends World Championship, Overwatch League Grand Finals, and the International 2018. Then we've got Best Esports Coach, which is Bach Reaperd Hangyu, Christian P. Pasarel, Bonacenu, I'm going to be butchering a lot of these names, Danny Zonek Sorensen, Dylan Falco, Jacob Yamato Cannon Mebdi, and Janko YNK Ponovic. Then we got the Best Esports Team, which is between Astrails, Cloud9, Fnatic, London Spitfire, and OG. Best Esports Player, Dominique Sonic Fox McLean, Hajime Tokido Taniguchi, Jean Uzi Zihao, Alexander Simple Kosliev, and Sung Higyeon J. Jonak Bang. We've got Best Esports Game between CSGO, Dota 2, Fortnite, League of Legends, and Overwatch. Best Debut Indie Game, Donut County, Florence, Moss, The Messenger, Yoku's Island Express. Best Student Game, Combat 2018, Dash Quasar, Jera, Lif, Reed, Charge. Best Multiplayer Game, Call of Duty Black Ops 4, Destiny 2 Forsaken, Fortnite, I wonder who's going to win that one, Monster Hunter World, and Sea of Thieves. Best Sports/Racing Game, we've got FIFA 19, Forza Horizon 4, Mario Tennis Aces, NBA 2K19, and Pro Evolution Soccer 2019. Best Family Game, Mario Tennis Aces, Nintendo Labo, Overcooked 2, Starlink, Battle for Atlas, and Super Mario Party. Best Fighting Game, BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle, Dragon Ball Fighters, Soul Calibur 6, Street Fighter 5 Arcade. I think this is between Dragon Ball Fighters and Soul Calibur 6, but I think Dragon Ball Fighters will probably be the one who wins. Again, here I am giving predictions, even though I said I wouldn't give predictions, but I'm just going with the flow. Best VR/AR Game, Astro Bot Rescue Mission, Beat Saber, Firewall 0 Hour, Moss, and Tetris Effect. Best Mobile Game, Donut County, Florence, Fortnite, PUBG Mobile, Reigns, Game of Thrones. Games for Impact: 1111 Memories Retold, Celeste, Florence, Life is Strange 2, The Missing, JJ Macfield, and The Island of Memories. Best Performance: Brian DeChart as Connor in Detroit Become Human, Christopher Judge as Kratos in God of War, Melisanthe Mahut as Cassandra in Assassin's Creed Odyssey, Roger Clark as Arthur Morgan in Red Dead Redemption 2, and Yuri Lowenthal as Peter Parker in Marvel's Spider-Man. Best Independent Game is between Celeste, Dead Cells, Into the Breach, Return of the Obra Dinn, and The Messenger. Best Audio Design is between Call of Duty Black Ops 4, Forza Horizon 4, God of War, Marvel's Spider-Man, and Red Dead Redemption 2. You're going to notice 3 names that are going to be very, very prominent in the remainder of the awards. 3 games. And I'm sure you already know which ones they are. Best Score / Music: Celeste, God of War, Marvel's Spider-Man, Ni no Kuni 2, Revenant Kingdom, Octopath Traveler, and Red Dead Redemption 2. Best Art Direction: Assassin's Creed Odyssey, God of War, Octopath Traveler, Red Dead Redemption 2, and Return of the Obra Dinn. Best Ongoing Game: Destiny 2 Forsaken, Fortnite, No Man's Sky, Overwatch, and Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Siege. I wonder what's going to win that one. Probably Fortnite. Best Narrative: Detroit Become Human, God of War, Life is Strange 2 Episode 1, Marvel's Spider-Man, and Red Dead Redemption 2. Best Game Direction: A Way Out, Detroit Become Human, God of War, Marvel's Spider-Man, and Red Dead Redemption 2. Best Role-Playing Game: Dragon Quest XI, Monster Hunter World, Ni no Kuni 2, Octopath Traveler, and Pillars of Eternity 2, Deadfire. Best Action Adventure Game: Assassin's Creed Odyssey, God of War, Marvel Spider-Man, Red Dead Redemption 2, and Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Best Action Game: Call of Duty Black Ops 4, Dead Cells, Destiny 2 Forsaken, Far Cry 5, and Mega Man 11. And last, but certainly not least, the main event of the entire Game Awards, the Game of the Year award itself. It will be decided between Assassin's Creed Odyssey, Celeste, God of War, Marvel's Spider-Man, Monster Hunter World, and Red Dead Redemption 2. They're all your nominees for the Game Awards 2019. 30 different categories, a whopping 30 different categories. I can't believe I went through all that without needing a water break. Whew. Deep breath. We got through it. Again, Team Murph and I'm sure we'll look more into this as we get closer to the Game Awards, and we'll likely, while we can't give our honest opinions on what we think will be on what we personally feel is our picks, if we were honest judges, we can probably give our predictions and our insights and thoughts based on the hype and the reception around certain games and stuff like that, and we can talk about that as the show gets closer. Errol, you're asking if I did this Survivor Series predictions yet. I did do the predictions for both Survivor Series and for NXT TakeOver WarGames. I will be putting those predictions into the Discord server once the live show is over. And with a sip of water to get my voice back, we move on. Xbox, Microsoft had their X018 show in Mexico City last week. It actually happened as I was recording last week's episode of the podcast, so I didn't get it covered. But I want to break down and go and read over all of the big headlines from that show. Microsoft acquired 2 more studios. This is all taken from IGN, by the way. Joining the list of already great acquisitions this year, Microsoft announced it will be acquiring Obsidian Entertainment. That's a big deal. And In Exile Entertainment. Obsidian, for those of you who may not know, they are the creators of Fallout, New Vegas, and Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2. This article, by the way, written by Brandon Tyrell on IGN.com. Crackdown 3 finally gets a release date and new mode reveal. It's been a long time coming for the next chapter of the Crackdown series. We got a Crackdown 3 release date, which they don't mention here. I'm not going to... I'll look that up real quick. We also got a really funny trailer with Terry Crews where his character in the game... basically is invading it, bugging him in his apartment. Let's see. February 15th, 2019. Thank you, GameSpot, for providing that date. That is the release date for Crackdown 3. Again, the trailer with Terry Crews was just Terry Crews' character just, being crazy, almost a la the Old Spice commercials that he used to do, hanging around in his apartment, bugging him. It turns out you find out that his apartment is in the city that Crackdown is in. And then with the Crackdown 3 trailer, they revealed a PvP mode where like pretty much everything is destructible and you have to defeat the other team. We found out that Xbox Game Pass will get more free games. There's already over 100 games on the Xbox Game Pass. But at the show, Microsoft announced that Xbox Game Pass will get 16 more games over the coming months and into next year, one of which will actually be Crackdown 3. So it will be PUBG, Ori and the Blind Forest, and Ori of the Will of the Wisps. Let's see, what is the full... We got the full list here. The full list of games is PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice, Ori and the Blind Forest, Ori and the Will of the Wisps, Kingdom: Two Crowns, Aftercharge, Supermarket Shriek, Void Bastards, Pathologic 2, Secret Neighbor, The Good Life, Thief of Thieves, Mutant Year Zero, Road to Elrond, MXGP3, Agents of Mayhem, and Thomas Was Alone. Crackdown 3 is not mentioned here, but it will be available on Xbox Game Pass. We also found out the keyboard and mouse support is on Xbox One is coming to Fortnite, which is big for me because I actually enjoy playing Fortnite with a keyboard and mouse. However, my lady plays the game on Xbox, and she doesn't always enjoy having to do cross-platform simply because of the fact that she doesn't like the advantages that PC players have with the increased FPS and all that stuff. So maybe this will incentivize me to download it on Xbox and play on keyboard and mouse via my Xbox. We'll see, maybe. Final Fantasy 13 games hit backwards compatibility, we found out. Sea of Thieves, the arena update, will focus on PvP, as the name actually kind of implies pretty well. Just Cause 4 proves there's a storm a-coming, is what IGN said. Avalanche's insane open-world action series Just Cause is returning this December. And today during the show, we were treated to a brand new cinematic trailer, so you guys can go check that out if Just Cause is your thing. Forza Horizon 4 expansion had a new trailer as well. Devil May 5 Cry reveals new Devil Breaker weapons in a new trailer, which includes a fork and Mega Man's blaster. Jump Force showed off some new Super Saiyan characters said, and more footage of Golden Frieza. And we also got a Kingdom Hearts 3 trailer showing the Winnie the Pooh world. I believe it also showed footage from the Tangled world that was recently revealed. And that's everything that happened at X18. Some cool announcements, but nothing really like groundbreaking or earth-shattering along the lines of like an E3 or even some PSX presentations. And then we'll move on to some more somber news that happened in the gaming world. If you all recall, D. Murph and I, in one of our episodes, I believe it was over the summer, talked about the death of a innocent man in a swatting incident where one gamer was taunting another gamer to swat him, providing an address. That person then did actually swat that address, or swatted that address, and it ended up being an innocent man. But the audio from the call actually was released, and the guy claimed that he was somebody who had shot his father in the head and killed him, and that he was holding the rest of his family hostage, and that he was thinking about burning the house or the apartment building and killing his family. So SWAT responded. It was this poor innocent guy who was a father to a young child, and one cop, when he put his hands to his waist, interpreted that as him reaching for a gun and shot and killed him. So there's an update. This story is from Polygon. The Call of Duty gamer who ordered a fake swatting call that ended up killing a bystander several states away pleaded guilty this week to federal charges related to that incident and numerous other false threats. Tyler Barris, 25, of Los Angeles, was accused of placing a call to dispatchers in Wichita, Kansas on December 27, 2017, claiming to have killed one person and to be holding two others. This was almost a year ago, I guess we talked about it, and holding two others hostage. When police responded to the address Barris gave them, they confronted Andrew Finch, 28. Police shot Finch dead, saying they believed he was reaching for a weapon. Finch was not armed. Barris will be sentenced on January 30th, 2019. So we don't know what the sentencing is, or I don't think we know what he's facing as far as a potential sentence. Let's see. Barris pleaded guilty in Kansas to counts of making a false report resulting in a death, cyber stalking, and conspiracy. He also pleaded guilty to charges brought in the District of Columbia and California's Central District related to hoax bomb threats. Yeah, he also apparently has been known. He is apparently a serial swatter and serial bomb threat caller. This guy. Those charges allege Barris placed bomb calls to the headquarters of the FBI and Federal Communications Commission, and to high schools, universities, shopping malls, and TV stations, to emergency numbers in 16 other states and Canada. In the California case, Barris pleaded guilty to 46 counts. I believe that this guy, he's pled guilty. Somebody died. I believe that he needs to be made an example of, so that way swatting is stopped and stymied and people are discouraged from trying it. I think that the courts need to throw the book at this guy and give him maximum sentencing. The maximum sentencing possible with a guilty plea. And to send a message, if you swat, regardless of whether you kill someone or not, because they've also convicted him and he's pled guilty to the other threats that didn't result in the death of someone, you will get busted. We will find you and you will be punished. Swatting is a serious issue and you shouldn't be doing it. You put people's lives at risk in doing so. Now, moving on from that story to more traditional game stories. The PlayStation blog announced this week that PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds will finally be arriving on PlayStation 4. It has a release date of December 7th, 2016, so the day after the Game Awards. It will be available in 4 different versions. A disc edition for $30. A Looter's Digital Edition for $30, which is basically just a digital version of the base game. Survivor's Digital Edition, which is $50, which includes the base game. Vikendi Event Pass, 2,300 G-Coin pack, and 20,000 BP. And then also a Champions Digital Edition for $60, which is the base game, basically the same stuff. So for $10 extra, it looks like you can get the Champions Digital Edition. You get 6,000 G-Coin, 6,000 G-Coin pack as opposed to a 2,300. In addition, this also taken from IGN, written by Adam Bankhurst. In addition, those who pre-order PUBG will receive a Nathan Drake desert outfit from Uncharted 3, and Ellie's backpack from The Last of Us to use in-game as well as aesthetic stuff, as well as a PUBG avatar and theme for your PS4. So, looks like the exclusivity deal is expiring. I guess it was about a year long, because I believe PUBG came to Xbox a year ago. So looks like the exclusivity is finally going to end, and it's finally coming to PlayStation 4. Whether or not it'll be successful or not, I don't know, because PUBG's player base and popularity has certainly dipped in the last year due to lots of technical issues and the rise of Fortnite. In Spider-Man news, Marvel Spider-Man, that game that was in a lot of categories, nominated a lot of categories for the Game Awards. We got more information on the Turf Wars DLC, including new suits, story info, and a release date. The game is coming out November 20th, which is just 4 days from the date I am recording this live. 2018. The main antagonist is the organized crime boss Hammerhead, as was hinted in the first DLC, The Heist. Hammerhead first appeared. This is another Bankhurst written IGN article. Hammerhead first appeared in Spider-Man comics in 1970 and is known for his obsession with the mob's glory years and a cranium surgically enhanced into a deadly weapon. There will also be 3 new outfits, which include the original Iron Spider from the comic books from the Civil War storyline in Marvel Comics, the Spider Armor Mark I, which is kind of like a black grayish like Mark I version of the Spider-Man suit, I guess the Iron Spider stuff, and then a let me see if I can zoom in and read this better. A cel-shaded Spider Clan like 2D armor costume as well. Let's see if I can read the rest of this. The Spider Clan suit is pulled from the Marvel Mangaverse comics, apparently. It'll again, coming out November 20th, will be available for $10, $9.99. Moving into some PC gaming news. NVIDIA admitted that some of their RTX 2080 Ti's, which is the next version of their highest brand of video cards, are actually defective. They flat out admitted it. Customers were complaining, saying they were having issues with their RTX 2080 Ti Founders Edition cards. They said that apparently the test escape versions of the card accidentally made it out into the shipping for the Founders version. Taken from IGN once again by Josh Norum. For the past few weeks, there have been reports of NVIDIA RTX 2080 Ti cards dying in myriad of ways, and now NVIDIA has admitted in its forums there is a problem. And a post company states, quote, "Limited test escapes from the board early boards caused the issues some customers have experienced with the RTX 2080 Ti Founders Edition. We stand ready to help any customers who are experiencing problems." Based on the writer's understanding of what a test escape is, it basically means they were testing parts for their boards early in the manufacturing process. Some components that were faulty escaped past their certification process, meaning bad parts made it all the way through to the final construction. This could be transistors, capacitors, RAM modules, and so forth. So basically, NVIDIA messed up and some faulty parts got into their final cards for the Founders Edition. This is a prime example of why you almost never buy the first version of anything. Normally, it's not so bad with game consoles, even though you do get the risk for bricking, but it's the same thing for video cards. I've heard stories of other generations of video cards where if you buy it first, there are problems with it. So it's always, especially, not so much with a console because it sometimes takes a while. And unless you don't mind not getting on that ground floor, it might be worth waiting 6 months to a year on a console, and it's especially worth it to wait until the post-Founders Edition of video cards to come out. Don't go rushing to get the new video card the moment it comes out, because there are almost always some sort of issues with it. And that's all for the traditional news. I just want to discuss some reviews and impressions based on a bunch of games that came out this month. First one, we're going to talk about Pokemon Let's Go, which is basically a updated and remastered version of Pokemon Yellow with a Pikachu and an Eevee version that is available for the Nintendo Switch. It is the first ever Pokemon game on a home console. If you want to call Switch that, it's like a console handheld hybrid. Reviews have been strong and pretty good for the game so far. It has an 81 overall score on Metacritic. GamesRadar gave it a 9.0, saying Pokemon Let's Go is a superb surprise, a fully fledged Pokemon RPG with interactivity that brings the series to life in a way that's never been done before. Other reviews, Game Informer gave it an 85 or an 8.5, saying Pokemon Let's Go, Pikachu, and Eevee are strong remakes of the original games. The feeling of amassing a giant collection of monsters and customizing your team never gets old, and the timeless turn-based combat is still fun to this day. Shoddy motion controls aside, Let's Go is a great time whether you're a die-hard fan or newcomer to the series. IGN gave it an 83, saying, powerful friends and new mechanics make for a delightful return to the Kanto region in Pokemon Let's Go, Pikachu and Eevee. US Gamer gave it an 80 or 8.0. As did GameSpot. They both say, first US Gamer, Pokemon Let's Go is engineered to let youngsters play along with their parents. But there's a lot here for veterans to enjoy too. It is relentlessly cute and colorful, and while the challenge level won't blister your skin, the new coach trainers will keep you hopping. We're still not sure about the Go style method of catching wild Pokemon, but Pokemon Let's Go's ability to link up to Niantic's app offers quick and easy way to fill out your Pokedex. Game Freak is clearly getting the hang of the Switch, so bring on Gen 8. GameSpot says, Pokemon Let's Go and Let's Go Eevee, Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee are delightful reimaginings of the series' origins and a deep RPG in their own right. It makes a lot of smart improvements on the original Red, Blue, and Yellow while holding on to what made them so special in the first place. Fans of the series might be let down by the lack of features they've come to expect, but Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee take the Pokemon formula in new and exciting directions. Just looking for any other reviews. Sixth Axis also gave it an 8. Destructoid gave it a 7.5, saying it's perfectly fine if you miss the return to Kanto, but they were delighted to go back. And no real nothing negative that I see. Eurogamer sounds positive. They said there's some wobbles along the way, but it's still good. Kotaku says there's nothing new or novel about the new games. It's still Pokemon. It's still a story about learning who you are and what you're capable of. Still a chance to become emotionally connected to the creatures who help you in that journey. So they were still kind of relatively positive on it, even though they don't do review scores. Polygon says co-op play or one-button wild battles may not be what I'm used to, but reiteration seems against the point here. This is Pokemon's console debut, and with that comes reinvention for all kinds of players, not just the ones who came of age with Pokemon a long time ago. So yeah. VG247 also chimed in as well, saying the game is trapped between fans hungry for more and what they already love and those keen to see the series really do new and different things. Writer said, I've fallen firmly into the latter category for a while now, but Let's Go ended up being something really unexpectedly needed for me, a nice nostalgic palate cleanser before a hopefully significantly changed Pokemon experience next year. So lots of positive responses to Pokemon Let's Go. It's one of the main reasons why I want to Switch now. Hopefully I will get a Switch soon. Maybe. We'll see. But if not now, definitely when Gen 8 comes out. And to anybody who is picking up Pokemon Go, Let's Go and playing it, and you're looking to transfer your Pokemon from Pokemon Go over, make sure that when you do the transfer, that you do not have the connection interrupted in any which way, which means if you're connected to Wi-Fi, do not lose the Wi-Fi. Do not lose your, if you're allowed to connect via mobile, do not lose that connection. Do not turn off your phone. Do not turn off the Switch, because Niantic has warned players that if you do so, you can very well lose some of your Pokemon. Or Nintendo said, interrupting the transfer could result in you losing some of your Pokemon from Pokemon Go, so just be mindful of that. While we're talking about Pikachu, I just want to segue over to the fact that Detective Pikachu has a trailer, and it looks amazing, even though the jury is still out on whether or not the Pokemon are actually adorable or nightmare fuel. I'm looking at you, Mr. Mime, and Jigglypuff. I think it's entertaining. I think it's hilarious. I think it's promising. I want to see Pokemon movies made in live action. So I'm willing to check this out and see how it comes about. Check out other trailers and maybe even go see it when it comes in theaters next year. So if you're a Pokemon fan and you have not seen it, what are you doing? Go see it. The other big release this week, which released today, I believe, is Fallout 76. There are no real reviews out yet, but IGN's working on it. US Gamer's working on it. Impressions I am seeing on the game. I got to watch a little bit of gameplay earlier today from one of the YouTubers I follow. I believe it was Upper Echelon Games. He wasn't very positive on the game. He said, it's something to play, but aside from that, it's really not much. The reviews of the impressions I've been seeing has been, it's got potential and it's okay and it's fun to play if you're like a Fallout fan and you don't mind that it's kind of MMO-ish and the story's not all there, to it's awful. This other YouTuber I follow, BBK Dragoon, said that it was awful, that he doesn't want to play it, that it's let him down. I just want to read off a couple of impressions before we move on to the next thing. I'm sure we'll know more within the next week when reviews come out. IGN says, the writer says, this is review in progress. I've just hit level 25 and I'm still discovering new enemies, monsters, creatures, and nightmares I've never seen in a Fallout game, which is great because I was concerned that Fallout 76 was going to be an easy list of chores and places to see. US Gamer said, right now, Fallout 76 feels like a game I can occasionally dive into and find that zen in looting and scrapping. That's what I play survival games for, that slow burn of reconstituting the world in your image. Fallout 76 isn't bereft of that feeling, but it also goes out of its way to put roadblocks in my way. Perhaps as I get farther in, those roadblocks will lessen. That is 15 impressions from 15 hours into the game. And then the Jimquisition, which is, I can't remember Jim's last name, but he used to be the editor-in-chief of Destructoid. He does his own thing now. His impressions are, it never seemed likely that Bethesda was capable of handling an online Fallout game, and the dreadful mess that is Fallout 76 only validates one's cynicism, which is fine because Fallout 76 is itself a cynical game. A cynical game that barely works, lifeless, archaic, and featuring a totally mangled VAT system. This desperate trip on the live services bandwagon is an utter waste of time, so Jim was not a fan of it. Other people more open and willing to entertain it. I've also heard some people say this may go the way of kind of Elder Scrolls Online, where it needs to kind of find itself through updates and whatnot before it actually becomes a game worth investing your time into. So we'll learn more when more impressions and reviews start coming in. And then I just want to get through Spyro Reignited Trilogy came out, and so did Battlefield 5. I'll read a couple of Battlefield 5 stuff, and then I'll just read off the scores for Spyro, because I want to try and burn through this. We've been going for well over, I think almost 2 hours now. Closing on that 2 hours, so I want to get through this real quick and wrap up the show so I can get those predictions up on the Discord server. Battlefield 5 currently has a meta score of 82 on Metacritic, and the reviews from different locations, Game Informer gave it an 8, saying on day one the game feels a few reinforcements short to pull off the overwhelming victory we've come to expect given the series' strong lineage. Destructoid gave it an 8, saying, while I'm happy with what we got, I ultimately can't help but wonder what another 6 months could have done for Battlefield 5. In a business with virtually no downtime, that's just the way it is. And Sixth Access gave it an 8. Shack News gave it an 8. PC Gamer gave it a 79, saying as chaotic and exhilarating as Battlefield has always been, just don't expect a dramatic reinvention of the series. And then we've got review in progresses. GameSpot's impressions. Conquest and the map roster don't mesh well together. However, Grand Operations and the other modes within it steal the show and foster some of the greatest moments the franchise has offered. Provisional score, not final, is an 8.0. IGN says, and this is their single-player review score, which was a 7.3. Battlefield 5 single-player campaign campaigns have a heavy reliance on stealth that doesn't always play to the series' strengths, but they do tell some poignant stories and deliver great-looking and sounding gunplay and explosive battles. A lack of enemy variety or consistent AI makes it feel a little whack-a-mole in the more linear segments until it opens up and gives you some options for how you want to tackle your objectives. Polygon, their review without a score, says, "It is one of the fastest military shooters to be released in years. The experience left me breathless at times after a full weekend of play. All I want is more. But to buy Battlefield 5 in 2018 is to accept a number of flaws and compromises. Multiple game modes still in development, including a Battle Royale mode that is still months from being available. Battlefield 5 is a work in progress." Rock Paper Shotgun says, "Taken on its own terms, Battlefield 5 is an incredible achievement that's absolutely worth your time and its AAA price tag. Taken in the context of every battle that's gone before, what's on sale is the all-too-familiar fantasy of being one insignificant drop in a sea of raging war soup. It's a fantasy I've lived enough times already." And VG247 said, "It seems like a continuation of what DICE started with Battlefield 1, with smart tweaks that elevate the core experience over the WW1 shooter that released 2 years ago. Now with gun bling." That is actually the review in progress impressions. And then Spyro Reignited Trilogy, 83 Metascore. Let's see if I can find some reviews from places I remember. EGM gave it an 85 or 8.5. IGN gave it an 85 or 8.5. GameSpot gave it an 8. 6 Access 8. And Eurogamer and Jimquisition both have impressions but no scores, so go check that out if you would like. And with that said, we have finally reached the end of this marathon podcast. So that will bring us to the end of episode 69. Nice. Of the Super Grapple Bros podcast. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us on this episode. If you stuck around for the whole episode, thank you so much. To everybody who came in live, I know this came in late on a Friday. Thank you so much for watching and checking it out. Do not forget, you can watch this episode on VOD, and you can catch every episode of Super Grapple Bros live on Twitch at twitch.tv/L_Murpho. You can also catch us on VOD on YouTube at youtube.com/LMurphoReal. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe and comment over there. You can also catch us in audio form on Google Play, Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, and we have also just been added over the last week to Spotify and Stitcher. So if you have Spotify or Stitcher, make sure you get us there. And we're also found on other places where plenty of other places where podcasts can be found. Just look for Super Grapple Bros. Be sure to rate, review, and subscribe, especially on Apple Podcasts. We become an officially rated and reviewed podcast, and more people can find us. Join in on the conversation. Join in on the fun. Do not forget about the Discord server. Like I said again, it is in the show notes in the audio version and the video description on YouTube, and it is on the channel page on Twitch. And I will once again drop it in the Twitch chat for anybody who is still around, chilling out live for the show. You can join that. You can give us feedback. There are two Super Grapple Bros channels in there. There is a Super Grapple Bros feedback, comments, questions, all that kinds of stuff channel, as well as the viewer predictions channel. Make sure you get in your predictions soon for WarGames and for Survivor Series. Get those shout outs. You can also give us feedback at supergrapplebros@gmail.com. And do not forget, you can also find out whenever we go live via the Discord server, but also via Twitter. I am at L_Murpho. DMurph is at DMurph_42. So thank you all so much for joining us for this episode of the Super Grapple Bros podcast. And before I leave you all, we got to close things out as usual with the Kayfabe News article or headline of the episode. And this week's article is Lesnar to relinquish Universal Championship to focus on his poetry career. Little did you know, Lesnar is a poet. I kind of screwed up the setup there because I was going to say Lesnar is a poet. And we didn't even know it. Fancy that. Fancy that. All right, with that messed up and my desperate attempt to redo it, I will say adios, adieu, farewell. Thank you all for checking out episode 69, nice, of the Super Crop Bros podcast. I have been El Murpho. Hopefully D Murph will join me next episode, make his triumphant return. Until then, when we do our War Games and Survivor Series review episode, peace, deuces, the deucey deuce. Catch y'all later. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye now. Bye. Bye. Bye.
Shut up and sit down.